Welcome to the Farming Without the Bank podcast, the show with a no BS approach to money, hosted by a farm strategy expert and authorized IBC practitioner. Join us as we get real and expose the flaws of traditional financial institutions in order to help farmers take control of their finances, create peace of mind, grow their wealth, and leave a legacy. Now, here's your host, Mary Jo Irmen.
Hello and welcome to today's podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Hey, you guys, I was just recently told by a couple of my marketing people and one of my assistants that we have 90 some reviews. Thank you very, very much. And we have like 60,000 downloads on this podcast already, which apparently is also very good. So I want to thank you. And please keep sharing it because it is information that people are looking for and apparently they like. So today I want to talk to you about taxes. But before we go there, I also want to talk about my calendar. Those of you who have read the book have an opportunity to visit with me for free. I do not charge for an hour-and-a-half consult. Now, I know that you guys have talked about this before or heard me talk about this before, but as the time of this recording, it is the first week in July 2020. So for those of you listening in the future, you can just ignore this, but the first week in July 2020. And yes, I am booking out a month before people can get in. Yes, I have a waiting list. And so I'm getting a lot of emails that say, hey, I don't want to wait a month to talk to you. I apologize. It's just me. And so if you want to work with the expert, you might have to wait. If you have just ordered the book today, you're getting emails with a link to my calendar. Schedule out a month so that you've got the next month to read the book and be ready for the meeting. A lot of you are reading the book and then scheduling, which I absolutely love. But give yourself an extra 2-3 days and then go ahead and schedule. You just have to have the book read before we meet. If you cheat and don't read the book, I know when I'm talking to you, I know if you've read it or not. So don't try to be all sneaky because I can tell. Anyway, just an FYI for those of you that are like, oh, well, we're in the busy season and I don't know if I'm going to get time to meet with her. I am consistently booked out 30 days. So if you know you're going to want to meet with me in November, if you know you're going to want to meet with me in December, October, whatever your slower time is, then go ahead and get that on the calendar. You will get calls as a reminder. You'll get emails as a reminder. You'll get texts as a reminder. So you should not forget about me because we make it kind of hard to do that. But just a little FYI, because I know people are a little bit frustrated and I apologize for that. But that's my calendar. Sorry. Okay, let's talk about taxes. I am not an accountant and I have an accountant that I want to bring on and he's just busy. COVID has thrown a wrench into everything. I mean, accountants barely have time to breathe at the moment. And so I'm just trying to get him on here as soon as I can. However, I have talked to quite a few people in the last couple of weeks that don't truly understand how taxes work. And so I do have a very basic knowledge of that I want to share that makes a little bit of sense. Now, you guys do know that I did a podcast, and if you haven't listened to it, you might want to listen to it about not buying things to avoid taxes. So how does it all work? And why do we need to be claiming zero all the time? Why do we always need to be at a loss? And the people that I did talk to in the last couple of weeks, they just don't have their books ready. And I talked about this as well. For heaven's sakes, you guys are running a business. Hire a bookkeeper. Have somebody teach someone in the family how to set up QuickBooks, how to keep the books. Stop doing stuff with cash. This is huge. Like, you'll go to town, pay cash for a part. Take that receipt, throw it on the seat of the pickup, and open the windows and it's gone. Or you throw it on the dash and your dash is, 2 inches high with receipts. Well, how do you know? So many people say, well, I'm going to buy something new because it cost me too much to fix it. How do you know how much it costs you in repairs? Did you keep those receipts? Did you keep track of it? Do you know what piece of equipment got what part? If you're not keeping track of that, and that might sound super minute to you, but if you're not keeping track of it, then how do you know where your money's going? How do you know if you can start a policy? Because when we talk and you don't know your numbers and you can't tell me your gross income, you can't tell me your operating costs. Well, if you can't tell me those two huge numbers that we should be able to know, then how do you know if you're making money? You just hope that the tax guy is doing the right thing? Really? I talked to a guy the other day that he's getting an $8,000 return and his accountant is making him pay $2,000 a year in. So he's making $500 quarterlies. Why? He's gotten a tax return every year, or a tax refund, sorry. He's gotten a tax refund every year and his accountant's making him pay in quarterlies? Let's think about asking why. Your accountant is not always the best accountant. Just like your life insurance agent might not be the best life insurance agent, or your banker is not the best banker. You might want to shop around for a new accountant. What the heck? Or at least start listening to different podcasts about accounting and finance to help you understand some basic business stuff so that you're not just subject to whatever that guy said or that accountant said. And I get it. You guys, I understand. God created you to be a farmer. He created you to be a rancher because he didn't create you to be a bookkeeper. He didn't create you to be an accountant. I 100% understand that. But we still need to know those numbers. And if you don't want to be sitting behind the desk, or you don't mind sitting behind the desk when it rains, so you take 3 or 4 days, well, that doesn't mean that you know where you're at on a monthly basis. So on the day that it rains, you should be sitting down looking at those numbers, not inputting them, so that by the time you're done inputting them, the rain stopped and you're back outside. You never actually get to review the numbers. I have a client whose husband passed away, and she said, I should probably be better at this. He was in the office every night. And so if he's in the office every night for a little bit, just to input numbers, at least they're being kept up on, right? So the one thing that I shared with my client that a lot of people don't understand is when you are told you're in a 20% tax bracket or a 23% tax bracket, whatever, what does that mean? And so I have a calculator that I use, the Truth Concepts calculator. If you guys want to go to truthconcepts.com, you can have, it's a 30-day free trial. You can get your free trial there. But Todd has done an amazing job. And so if you look at our tax structure, we now have, and I just put $300,000 in my calculator. So if you make $300,000 of gross income a year, there is a 10, a 12, a 22, and a 24% bracket. You hit all 4 of those brackets because we have a tiered tax system, tax structure. So that means that if you make $300,000 gross with no deductions, the first $19,751 is taxed at 10%. The next $60,500 is taxed at 12%. The next $90,800 is taxed at 22%. And the next $128,949 is taxed at 24%. Okay? If I change this to a $500,000 gross income, Then we go to a 32 and a 35% tax bracket. We add 2 more tiers. So if you are making $500,000 gross, you could go up to the 35% tax bracket, but you don't pay 35% tax on the full $500,000. You're going to pay 35% tax on $85,299. Then you're going to pay $32,000 tax on $88,10. But what if, let's just go back to, let's stay here at the $500,000 tax bracket. You make $500,000 of gross income. So they say, well, John, you need to be buying something because you can't pay, you're going to pay $124,000 in taxes. You can't do that. So you need to buy something. Okay. So to save 35% taxes. Well, you only save 35% on $85,000. So if you buy something for $85,299, you save 35% on the $85,299. So your tax savings is $29,000. You spent $85,000 to save $29,000. So if you're going to save in that tax bracket, every dollar you spend, you save 35 cents. Any dollar over $85,300, any dollar you spend over that, you only save 32 cents. So you got to spend another $88,100, then you save 32 cents. Any dollar over that, you save 24 cents. So for every dollar you spend, every dollar more you spend, you're not saving 35 cents. If you're in a $500,000 gross income, you're only saving 35 cents on the first $85,300 that you spend. Anything over that, your savings goes down. Okay? So if you say, I'm going to go buy a piece of equipment for $300,000 because I don't want to pay taxes, you saved $88,000. You spent $300 to save $88,000 because not all of that came at the 35% tax bracket. If it all did come at the 35% tax bracket, you would have saved $105, but you only saved $88. The gentleman that I talked to the other day had no idea there were tiers, right? No fault of his own. I have never had my accountants. I've had several accountants. I have never had an accountant explain. Well, I've had one accountant. I'm sorry. I had one accountant explain this to me. But you know where I learned this? In the training to use these calculators. I learned this after I started in this industry, that we're not saving a dollar for a dollar when we buy something. So do we need to buy that something? The gentleman that I talked to was in about the 12% tax bracket. So he's spending $1 to save 12 cents. Does that make sense? Or do you just save the other 88 cents? You pay your 12 cents in taxes and you save the other 88 cents and use it to operate next year. Use it to pay cash for a piece of equipment. Save it until you have enough cash for a piece of equipment. But don't go finance something because now you saved 12 cents, but now you went to the bank and borrowed money. And guess what? You paid them interest, which means you didn't save anything in taxes because you probably paid it to somebody else in interest. So maybe this was a boring podcast for some of you that understood this, but I think there's a lot of you that don't know. I didn't know. Nobody tells us that. They just say, hey, you made $500,000, you're going to pay 35% in taxes. No, I'm only going to pay 35% on $85,299. Okay? And I am sure there is somewhere online that you can go and get a tax calculator like this that's going to show you the tiers and you can put in your gross income. So if you have a gross income, and now most of you have expenses, right? We have feed, fertilizer, chemical, seed, we've got fuel. I mean, you have a ton of expenses, but you also have if you're a bigger operation, you also have a lot of gross income. And so at $1 million of gross income, that puts you in a 37% tax bracket. Let's see what happens if we go to 2 million. You still stay in the 37% tax bracket. So obviously there's no tax bracket over 37%. And again, I am not an accountant, so I don't know that. Let's test it. Nope. Anything over 207. I don't know where we were at here. Let me lower that just a hair. Yep. So 37% is the biggest that we're going to be in. So if you make $1 million, you can have, out of $1 million, $377,949 is taxed at 37%. Okay. So then you could spend $377,000. So if you make $1 million of gross income and you have $377,000 of expenses, well, that was your gross. This is going to be, you're going to pay tax on your net, right? So regardless, it's getting kind of complicated here, but I am not an accountant. Ask your accountant about it. Do not be scared to ask them questions. Can I deduct this? Can I deduct that? I had another client this week that their spouse started a business, and it was an online business, and they filed their tax refund, but she didn't claim internet as an expense. She didn't claim her cell phone as an expense. And yeah, you can't claim it all from what I've been told, but a certain percentage of it is being used for her business. It's an online business. She has her cell phone. That's where they're calling her. That's her phone that she's using to do business. Yes, claim that. Another accountant that did not share that with this insured. And some accountants will say, well, don't claim too much because then you're going to get audited. Oh my heavens. Are you kidding me? If it is a business expense, a legitimate business expense because I have to pay that to do business, then I'm going to claim it. It's an expense. I don't care if it's a small internet business. Keep your records. What's your profit? What's your loss? Are we making any money? Some of you know that I used to have a little chocolate business, and I would make these apples with caramel and 2 layers of chocolate and pretzels and Rice Krispie bars. And, I still make them once in a while because people want them, but it is pain in the butt. Pain in the butt. They're super good, but it's a lot of time. So I was working a regular job. This was my side business. And one day I actually sat down and started creating a spreadsheet. What did the ribbon cost me? What did the bag cost me? How many ounces of chocolate do I have on there? How many ounces of caramel? And I had to divide everything out so I could get it per ounce. I had to time myself. How long did it take me to dip it in caramel? How long did it take me to make an apple from beginning to end for packaging? How much were my tags? I was selling these apples for like $8 an apple, and I wasn't even covering the costs. My cost was over $9 to create that product. So I jacked my price up to like $13 to cover my time. And then people said, well, I don't want them. It's too expensive. And I said, okay, good, because then I don't have to make them because I'm not working for free. That is exactly what you need to do. I don't care what kind of business it is. I don't care if you're farming. I don't care if you're a plumber, if you're an electrician, if you're a carpenter. It does not matter what you are doing for a business. Are you making a profit? What does it cost you to buy things? Are you getting paid for your time? And do we need to save 12 cents? Do we need to spend $1 to save 12 cents? Ask your accountant, what can I be doing differently? I just started myself listening to Tom Wheelwright's podcast. So if obviously you guys are podcast listeners because you're here listening to me, he has the Wealth Ability Show with Tom Wheelwright is the name of his podcast. He is Robert Kiyosaki's accountant. And so he's got lots of good tips and tricks about audits about what you can deduct and what not to deduct. I listened to one the other day about an LLC versus a S Corp versus a corporation. And I actually learned something there because I thought I knew everything and I didn't. So that's good because I was listening and did not have the arrival syndrome. The other really good podcast that I've recently been listening to, and for some of you, it might not be of interest, but he's got a really good podcast, just a lot of stuff about being an entrepreneur, where to start, what that's like, what to expect, is the Cash Flow to Freedom. And that is a number 2, Cash Flow, the number 2, Freedom. And he's got a lot. I've just started as well listening to some of his stuff and been through, I don't know, he's got a ton of podcasts. He doesn't have them numbered, so I don't know how many I've been through, probably 10 or 15 of them. And great stuff if you are somebody that wants to farm and kind of understand how to use your mentor, how to be a good student for that mentor and somebody that's going to continue to share that information for you. So I really hope that this helped. I hope that it didn't bore you to death, because that's not the goal here. I have gotten a few suggestions of things to talk about. So please keep sending those. I do appreciate that. And keep sharing the podcast. I really appreciate you guys listening in, leaving the reviews. If there's anything that I can do for you, just email me, MaryJo@withoutthebank, and I am happy to help. Thanks so much and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to the Farming Without the Bank podcast. We hope today's episode has inspired you to take control of your finances in new ways. Don't forget to check out our website, farmingwithoutthebank.com, and engage with us on our Facebook page, Farming Without the Bank. Join us next week as we smash more financial myths and empower you to accomplish your financial goals.